Hello and welcome to Hops and Bros. This week we're taking a look at one of the channel's favorite beer, at least one of my favorite beers, the Flanders Red. A lot of popular styles around this, but let's get into it.
For an open window on a crappy world, Max and Chris from Ups and Brews. Ups and Brews. Welcome to Ups and Brews.
So alright, before we dive into this week's video, we had a very hard time. Everything was pre-recorded. I'm adding this to the video because I think it really matters, but me and Max sat down and we want to release a video this week to kind of get us some relief outside of all the events coming up or that have been just popping up lately, and we want to also take a stand against racism and show our support towards Black Lives Matter. We've been always very proactive on the channel against racism comments, but also having people, friends like Ren Navarro. Definitely, I don't want to take the stage or the spotlight for those people that right now voices matters more than any time whatsoever. So there's going to be a link down there in the description if you want to donate, if you want to support Black Lives Matter. It's going to be right there in the description. Please go check it out. And also, obviously, this video and the upcoming videos during the month of June will be a lot more different. We're doing an all new recipe. We're very excited to show it to you guys. Obviously, timing wise, it's a bit weird, but all the proceeds coming from the sponsorship, the partnership that we have with Brew HQ will go through donations that we'll be giving away through the links down there. So go check it out, support your local Black Lives Matter initiatives, and please, for God's sake, fuck racism, fuck police brutality.
So before we get started, a quick word for our sponsor, Brew HQ. It's the best time to get into home brewing, and why not get everything delivered at home? Brew HQ is the solution for everything that is home brewing, at least to get started. They've got everything from ingredients to equipment to even some how-to videos and how-to stuff. They're a great resource for anyone who's trying to get into home brewing. A lot of people are getting into bread making, sourdough starters, and stuff like that. Why not make beer? Beer is awesome. Clearly, we've made a thing out of it, and we want as many people to, try their hand at it. It's not that hard. Plus, in the end, you get delicious beer. If you use the code BROS at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount on any purchases you make, and you'll get brewing even faster and at a discount. So, Brew HQ, check them out.
All right, so first up in this new series about Flanders Red. It's a whole thing. We say new series because we'll be talking about Flanders Red for a whole month. And what we're planning to do is go into a more deep dive session with you guys about different topics around the same subject. So obviously we'll always start with something that's around the likes of a Craft Beer 101, covering the subject in general, but after that, in every single weeks, we'll get a little bit deeper into the own different expertise that me and Max have in the beer spectrum, just so you guys get to know more about those styles and how they made it so famous in their own ways. So basically, Flanders Red, why are we talking about them this week? It's because our good friends at À la Feu that are located in Saint-Cyr out here in Quebec, they're big fans of the show. We're big friends with them. We always enjoy their beers, but they sent lately a brand new project that they're launching, which is 12 different collabs with 12 different breweries, but with a different twist. And the different twist is that they're blending a special beer with Rouge de Mekinac, which is a blend of Flanders Red and Kriek together to make one fantastic beer that has always been a classic here on the show. But what's awesome with that is teaming up with other breweries like Maltstrom, Barberie, and also Castor that's coming up, all into different bottles that will be released through the months of the year that they call the Year of the Red, which I think it's fantastic. And having that showing that people are coming together to celebrate this fantastic beer, why not make it a whole month here on Hops and Bros and discuss this fantastic style with you guys?
All right, so the Flanders Red. Let's take a look at the beer itself. What can you expect when you open a bottle of Flanders Red? Well, first off, as the style name predicts, it is a red beer. But it's not your typical red because it's also a sour. But we'll come back to that later. There's a bit of a particularity to that sourness. So, red-based beer using Vienna, using pretty much any grain, even as a maize, just to get that color, get that consistency, get that body, and get that alcohol between 4 and 6.5%. It's pretty much your run-of-the-mill red. At that point, nothing really changes. Even the aroma, you have a bit of that malt character that's going to come through, as you would expect in a red. The difference here is you're also going to get some fruit aroma. You're going to get some blackberries, dark berries, red currant, maybe a bit of orange, but orange rind. From there, in the flavor, it's the same thing. Those kind of red berry-like characters, fruit character comes through a lot more. The malt is still there, but it's not quite as intense. Now, that's where the beer kind of gets funky, gets very, very different. At that point, there's also a clear sour note to it, but it's not your typical lactic, more citric sourness. In this case, it's a vinegary acetic sourness, not bitterness, sourness to it. So you have more of that vinegar taste. It's very particular. Not everyone necessarily likes it. Not everyone goes for something like that versus more of that citric. It's really up to taste. Everyone likes something different. It is definitely different, but it does work very, very well with that red, overly malty base. Vinegar in a very light beer, I don't think would work as well, but because it has a lot of that malt presence, it works very well in this case. Now, when it comes to adding that vinegar flavor to it, it is a specific bacteria. It's not your lactobacillus for the lactic acid in most sours. In this case, it's one that will develop that vinegar acetic acid. Now, the particularity that Flanders Red has, it's barrel aged. This bacteria, this organism is in wood, and that's how you get the end result. That's how you get the complexity behind it versus its cousin, the wood Brewing, which is all in stainless. We are going to get back to barrels in a later episode in about in a few weeks. Just stay tuned. It's going to be all about bacterias, barrel bacterias, and all that jazz. So definitely stay tuned if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And if not, a couple examples for you to get started into the Flanders Red realm. Would be the Rodenbach, which is one of those. The vintage is awesome, but they also have the Grand Cru, which is a more readily available bottle that is not aged. So one is vintage, the other one is not. They're both very, very good. The vintage has a lot more complexity, but I definitely try those. Chester-Bourgogne is another one that's really nice. All these beers are very wine-like, so if you're a fan of wine and I guess vinegar in this case, try it out. It's those flavors are present. They're not necessarily going to affect your palate negatively. They work very well together, so I'd check it out. And the last one that I would definitely recommend, especially if you're in the Quebec, Ontario area, is the Rouge de Miquinac from À l'Affût. À l'Affût, great fans, great supporters, and great friends of the show. They send us some bottles. We're going to be reviewing those next week. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for this kind of stuff. And now, Chris, what exactly is the importance? Why is this beer style so iconic? What exactly is this?
So the legendary Flanders Red originated just up north in the region of Western Flanders out there in Belgium, which is mostly known for their fantastic sours. But if you look closely at the map, you'll see that it's kind of like separated in its ways that down south you get more lambics, and up north you get a more darker style of sours. And darker style of sours, we're talking about Oud Bruin and Flanders Red. Oud Bruin is mostly brewed out east and west. Whatever you want to do it, but we can't get past Flanders Red without We can't get past Flanders Red. We can't get past Flanders Red. I can't say red. We can't get past Flemish Reds without talking about Rodenbach. Rodenbach Brewery dating back from 1821. Yeah, that old. 4 brothers that were all from the Rodenbach family invested in a brewery located in the Flanders region. And what happened is that it kind of like slowly took over. 15 years into this kind of like arrangement between the four brothers, one of the brothers, Pedro, and his wife, Regina Wouters, but everyone else share of the brewery. But what happened, which I think is fantastic, is that since Pedro was serving in the military, Regina took over the direction of the brewery and made it its own unique brand in some sort until their son Edward got the brewery back, and since then kind of like swiped it across the whole Belgium area, and now it became this legendary beer. But why is it legendary? If you think about it, we already discussed that, I think, when we were discussing malts and the malt kilning process out there in, I think it was in Britain. Just that, making different colored malts, they were able to play on a different field that the lambics were already doing with wheat. That means that they were able to get not darker beers that were sour, but actually play in the red tints of the beer. Make it so unique, so flavorful, that you can maybe trick people into just drinking something that's a bit more fruity, that reminds them of red wine. So just like red wine, Flanders Red are aged in wood. And Max already discussed a little bit of the brewing process. They always use a fantastic mix of cocktail. It's a cocktail of different yeast and bacteria that is used after the original fermentation of the beer. Some of them aged to 18 months, can go as far as 3 years, and can be a little bit younger because the brands are constantly changing. The technology is changing bacteria-wise. At the same time, they're getting more effective yeast and bacteria, so they're able to get more effective and straight to the point fermentation for their fantastic beers. So Flanders Red are this mix of very tasty but powerful beers at the same time. They're very complex, has a nice level of acidity, fruitiness comes along with little fruits, berries, and that oak character that's coming through the back. Some of them maybe even getting some vanilla tones in the back for the older one, the aged ones, which I think it's fantastic. It makes it so much fun to just try this beer, age it at the same time, and discover different vintage. As a beer geek, it's fantastic. And what's very fantastic about it is also the availability of those beers. Rodenbach, Duchesse, the Bourgogne, and having Rouge de Méginac readily available pretty much all year round makes it so much fun. It's often really affordable. It's not the same price as lambics or gers because obviously there's a lot more things going on in lambics. I won't dive into a debate about lambics and gers and whatsoever and what's the best sour around there, but I think that Flanders Red do deserve a bit more shine through them. And obviously, I'd like to see more breweries out here in North America try this style out. And a good way to start is maybe drinking Rouge de Méginac, sampling it, which we'll do next week on the show. Stay tuned, it's going to be amazing. We'll talk a little bit about the marketing, but also dive deeper into those beers that we received from Malafu, do a bit more tasting notes, and yes, we'll bring a beer review back, which we haven't done in so long. So
thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. It helps support the show. We want to do more of these, and the more support we have, the more we will do them. And also next week, stay tuned for the Rouge de Méginac from À la Fût. It's going to be a great episode, so check it out. Just come by. You don't have to do much. 10 minutes, Stay home. Just press play.